Suppose Paris came up with the idea for a 15-minute city where every place you need to be during the day is within a 15-minute walk. Then Sweden responds with a 1-minute city idea for Stockholm, then Gothenburg. Watch on to find out how $100 billion is used for Gothenburg city upgrade. Welcome to our channel. In this video, we'll discuss Sweden's $100 billion upgrade for the city of Gothenburg. Gothenburg is the second largest city in the Nordic country of Sweden, and it's the leading industrial powerhouse of the country. It serves as a home to household names like AstraZeneca and Volvo. It's the region's most advanced logistics hub and boasts the biggest port in the country. The city is recently undergoing a vast multi-billion-dollar transformation to make it the commercial heart of Northern Europe by 2035. At the center of it is this Gothenburg City Gate Tower, which will be the tallest office building in the Nordic region when completed. But if you spent all your time researching what Gothenburg is like, you will only come across how green, sustainable, and peaceful Gothenburg is. So you will need clarification about precisely what's going on and how this Swedish city matched blockbuster developments with sustainable growth. We have to flash back a bit to understand what's happening in the city. Around 40 years ago, Gothenburg underwent a significant change in the 1980s. The shipbuilding industry, which had been necessary to its economy since the 16th century, was in terminal decline. The empty shipyards were converted into a science park, which helped the city become a high-tech research and development hub and doubled as a major trading port. Then, the Gothenburg Development Strategy was announced in 2014 as a comprehensive plan which would shape the development of the entire city over the next 2 decades, and it's working from 2016 to 2035. Over $100 billion is being invested into expanding infrastructures, like the city's port and metro system, and building some 55,000 new homes. Sweden has one of the best sustainability records in the world, and Gothenburg is no exception. So how do you maintain that reputation while doing so much construction? The new City Gate Tower is an excellent example of how Gothenburg balances massive scale with low environmental impact. Despite being the most significant office building in the Nordic region, it's set to be awarded the highest LEED certification. LEED was set up in the 1990s to recognize buildings constructed to a high environmental standard. Reaching the coveted platinum status is so tough that only a few thousand buildings worldwide have ever been awarded it. With Citygate, those environmental credentials started right from the design and construction stages. Recycled aluminum was chosen to create the facade, and a high-tech solution was used for one of the most polluting aspects of the build. Concrete production accounts for about 8% of all global CO2 emissions. Still, the concrete used at Citygate replaced carbon-intensive cement with fly ash, a byproduct of the coal industry, which has very similar properties. One of the most impressive feats is that the entire building will be powered by a new solar park connected just outside Gothenburg. That's right, the largest office building in Sweden will be 100% powered by renewable solar energy. But it's not just the sustainability of this project, which is distinctly Swedish. Almost all of the 144-meter tower was prefabricated. A quick reminder before we further continue our discussion on this topic. If you've enjoyed the video so far, consider subscribing as we frequently upload informative and educational videos. Let's continue. Sweden has pioneered prefabricated construction, and up to 80% of its housing stock has been built this way. The concrete core was the only element of this building to be cast on site. All the other floor slabs, steelwork, and paneling were delivered, and the building was put together like a giant Lego set. That's ideal for a small site that's a bit hemmed in by a stadium, fire station, and another site just next door. It also meant the structure could be built incredibly quickly. When construction began in earnest, the tower shot up in 14 months. To put that into context, that's the same length of time it took to dig into the tough Gothenburg clay to create room for the building's foundations. Citygate also set a new nationwide standard for using digital construction tools like Bluebeam Review. Projects of this size take some severe organizing. With so many digital files and messages flying around, people must coordinate with their teams and be sure they're looking at the correct information. We have 3,000 to 4,000 technical drawings, and everything has to go through design reviews, the site manager, Jimmy Hemmingson, told the B1M. When we have all these documents linked together digitally, it's much easier for everyone in the project to find what they're searching for. Bluebeam Review is a cloud-based collaboration tool that makes sharing and coordinating documents easy. It puts the latest information in front of everyone who needs to see it, whether in the office, working remotely, on the move out on site, or working at the very top of a super sustainable Swedish skyscraper. As well as speeding up workflows, reducing stress, and ensuring things get built the right way for the first time, there's also the fairly obvious sustainability benefit of doing away with paper. It also saves a lot of trees being cut down because we don't need to print out all these drawings, Hemmingsen said. As impressive as Citygate is, Gothenburg still has a pretty enviable reputation to keep up. Still, as we've seen elsewhere, big money and significant developments sometimes turn out differently for the locals. So what is Gothenburg doing differently? Right from the start, the Gothenburg development strategy sought to encourage business growth while keeping livability at the very top of the agenda. But what makes it so good in the first place? Griffith Jones, the founder of the This is Gothenburg blog, came up with an answer. I've heard it described as a big but slow city. Even in rush hour, it's not that rushed. You also have access to nature. It's equidistant for me to go swimming in a lake or go out for dinner in a restaurant. You don't have to choose between living in the countryside or the city. To preserve this way of life, city planners wanted to keep Gothenburg's small and local feel. Rather than allowing growth into large suburbs with long commute times, the city plan calls for critical inner city areas to be developed and made denser. About 1 in 10 Gothenburgers live around the city center, where 90% of the jobs are. Dag Hammarskjölds, one of the main entrances to the city, will be transformed from an impassable motorway into a pedestrian-friendly boulevard with green space and new public transport. Yes, I know what you're thinking. If Gothenburg's so great, why don't you go and live there? Well, you may be relieved to hear that there is, in fact, a catch to this Nordic nirvana. Housing in Sweden's major cities has been a controversial subject for decades. Renting is commonplace in Sweden, and generous protections for tenants keep rents low while helping to provide stable long-term contracts. Some have argued that these generous provisions have disincentivized house builders to construct new homes. The house builders are saying it's not possible to build affordable housing in the city center, and the Housing Association is saying that's not true. So for some, it's entirely up for debate. Griffith Jones added, "There's a strong need for new housing in the city, and that demand has existed for decades. While housing is an issue, it's nowhere near the chronic levels found elsewhere. Gothenburg is facing pressures similar to many other cities worldwide, but it seems to be doing an excellent job with dealing with them before they get too out of hand." This massive, holistic plan was triggered partly when the Gothenburg City Council realized it was expecting a rise in population of 150,000 over 2 decades. Compare that to somewhere like Toronto, which is expecting over 2 million people to come to the city in the next 10 years, but doesn't have the plan to house its existing citizens. While this may not be a complete case of a city having its cake and eating it, it's certainly setting a high bar for others to follow, and it might remain at the top of those lists for some time. The plan to massively rebuild the city of Gothenburg is well accepted throughout, which will further improve the city structure. With the enormous amount of money being pulled into this project, we are sure that the outcome will be huge. How do you feel the project will go? Do you like the idea of your country doing such a thing? Let us know your views in the comments section below. If you learned something new today, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Made Well Finder so that we can keep making such fantastic videos for you. Thanks for watching.